Welcome, seekers of the arcane, to a journey into the heart of forbidden magic. Tonight, we unravel the chilling tale of Coven of Shadows, Rise of the Dark Sisters, a story steeped in secrecy, power, and the awakening of a force long hidden from mortal eyes. In the depths of midnight rituals and whispered incantations, the Dark Sisters rise to reclaim their place in a world that fears them. Their story is one of unity, vengeance, and the seductive lure of shadowed power. Stay with us as we step into their world, where light dares not tread and darkness reigns. Coven of Shadows, Rise of the Dark Sisters. In the labyrinth of myth and legend, stories of witches have always walked a fine line between fear and fascination. Their roles as healers, seers, and outcasts shape them into both protectors and destroyers, depending on who tells the tale. Among the countless whispers of witchcraft lies a darker, more unsettling chronicle, Coven of Shadows, Rise of the Dark Sisters. This tale does not merely recount witches as misunderstood figures, but as bearers of ancient, forbidden powers, drawn together by an oath to defy natural law itself. At its heart, this story unravels the history of a sisterhood bound not by blood, but by shadows, secrets, and an insatiable hunger for dominion over realms both seen and unseen. Unlike other witch covens that align themselves with balance or the natural world, the Dark Sisters pursued what was shunned by all others: the magic of shadows, a force that thrived on absence, despair, and the thinning veils between mortality and eternity. To understand their rise, we must first understand the setting, the origins of their power, and the world that dared to stand against them. The world before the shadows. The tale begins in an age where kingdoms struggled between faith and fear. The world was fractured, each land governed by warlords or kings whose ambitions often bled their people dry. In such chaos, magic existed in hushed tones. Folk healers whispered charms, wise women read omens, and druids kept ancient rites. But true sorcery, the kind capable of bending worlds, was thought extinct. It was during these fractured centuries that whispers of a forbidden grimoire emerged. Known as the Codex, this tome was said to have been written in a language older than time, inscribed not with ink but with the blood of an ancient entity long banished into the void. The Codex did not teach spells of healing or harvest, but revealed incantations of dominance, possession, and shadow-wrought illusions. Those who stumbled upon fragments of its teachings often went mad or vanished. Yet a select few women, isolated, shunned, and yearning for power beyond mortal means, began to hear a common calling. Drawn together by dreams and omens, they found one another. Thus, the first sparks of the Coven of Shadows ignited. The birth of the Dark Sisters. The Coven's earliest members were 7 women, each marked by tragedy and betrayal. Some were once healers accused of heresy, others widows blamed for curses, and some born with strange gifts that frightened their villages. Cast out, they became wanderers until the shadows themselves guided them into union. They met beneath a withered tree on the night of a blood moon, each carrying a piece of the Codex. No single woman had the entire text, but together their fragments formed a near-complete whole. When they recited its verses as one, the air itself quaked. Their bodies became conduits for something older, darker, and unearthly. From that night, they ceased to be mere women. They were reborn as the Dark Sisters, bonded by the Codex and forever entwined with the shadows. Their eyes carried faint glows like embers hidden beneath ash, and wherever they walked, whispers followed as though unseen mouths echoed their names. The 7 swore an oath to each other and the Codex, to rise above kingdoms, crush their enemies, and claim dominion over all realms of shadow. The magic of shadows. Unlike elemental or divine magic, shadowcraft was not rooted in the living earth or the heavens above. It fed on what was absent: light unmade, joy extinguished, and the spaces between breaths. To wield such power, one had to surrender a piece of their soul into the void, allowing the shadow realm to seep into their being. The Dark Sisters became masters of this forbidden craft. Their abilities included umbral veils, cloaking themselves in shadows, rendering them unseen or appearing as phantoms to terrify enemies; soul binding, tethering victim spirits, forcing loyalty or eternal torment. Blood eclipse rituals using blood and moonlight to summon storms, plagues, or visions of doom. Spectral familiars, conjured beasts formed of smoke and darkness, hunting on their command. Veil walking, the most feared art, allowing them to slip between the mortal world and the shadow realm. Yet such power demanded a cost. For every spell, the sisters lost fragments of their humanity. Their laughter became rare, their reflections distorted, and their dreams filled with void-born entities whispering promises of eternal conquest. Rise of the Coven. The Dark Sisters did not remain hidden for long. Their first act was vengeance. Each returned to the village or kingdom that had betrayed them, cloaked in shadow, and brought ruin. Crops rotted overnight, children vanished into mist, and churches burned without flame. By the time rulers sent soldiers, the sisters had already become legends of terror, their names etched in hushed prayers for protection. But they were not content with vengeance alone. They sought empire. Instead of conquering through armies, they spread corruption like a plague. They whispered into dreams of kings, sowing paranoia until rulers slaughtered their own advisors. They promised power to desperate lords, only to enslave their souls once bargains were struck. Entire cities fell not by siege but by shadows creeping through their gates. The Coven built their stronghold deep within a black forest where sunlight never fully reached. This citadel, known as the Sanctum Umbri, was a fortress of twisting spires and endless halls, constructed not of stone but shadow-forged matter. It was said that those who entered without invitation became part of the walls themselves, their faces silently screaming from the black stone. As decades passed, the Dark Sisters became the hidden rulers of vast territories. Kings were puppets, queens were silenced, and the common people lived in constant fear of unseen watchers in the dark. The opposition, yet no tyranny goes unchallenged. A coalition of priests, knights, and rival sorcerers formed to combat the Coven. Known as the Order of the Dawnfire, they wielded lightborn relics forged in ancient temples. Their creed was simple. Where shadow spread, they would bring fire and light. The Order waged war on the Coven for generations. Battles were not always fought on fields, but in cathedrals, forests, and even within dreams. Each victory was hard-won, as the sisters proved nearly impossible to slay. When one sister fell, her essence would seep back into the shadows, awaiting rebirth through rituals. But the Order discovered fragments of prophecy that spoke of the Coven's downfall. It was said that the sisters' own blood shall unmake them, and a shadow born of light will end their dominion. This prophecy sparked hope, but its meaning remained elusive. Internal conflict. For all their unity, the Dark Sisters were not immune to discord. Power is a double-edged blade, and each sister's ambitions grew over time. One sister sought to merge fully with the Shadow Realm, becoming immortal but less human. Another craved dominion over flesh, experimenting with grotesque transformations. A third longed for worship, presenting herself as a goddess to enslaved villages. These divisions weakened their bond. Though the Codex bound them, their rivalry simmered, and their enemies exploited it. The prophecy of their downfall whispered in their minds, breeding paranoia. Could one of them betray the others? Could blood truly undo their pact? The climax, rise and fall. The height of their reign came during the Eclipse of Ashes, when the sisters performed a ritual to fully merge the mortal world with the Shadow Realm. The sky darkened for 7 days, seas turned black, and night creatures prowled openly. Humanity trembled on the brink of despair. But it was during this ritual that the prophecy struck true. One of the Dark Sisters, torn by doubt and guilt, turned against her kin. She spilled her own blood into the ritual circle, fracturing the unity of the Codex. In that moment, the Order of the Dawnfire launched their final assault. The battle raged within the Sanctum Umbri. Flames clashed with shadows, screams echoed across worlds, and reality itself trembled. In the end, the sisters were undone, not by fire, but by betrayal. The Shadow Realm recoiled, collapsing the citadel into itself. The surviving Order proclaimed victory, declaring the Dark Sisters destroyed. Yet fragments of shadow lingered, whispering promises of return. Legacy of the Dark Sisters. Though the coven fell, their influence never truly vanished. Even centuries later, witches and occultists sought remnants of the Umbri Codex. Tales of ghostly women wandering forests, eyes glowing faintly in the dark, persisted. Some claimed to descend from the sisters' bloodlines, cursed and blessed in equal measure. The prophecy left unfinished business too. If a shadow born of light ended their reign, could such a paradoxical being rise again? Scholars, zealots, and seekers of forbidden power continued to search for answers. In the end, the Dark Sisters became more than villains. They became symbols. To some, they were warnings of corruption and ambition unchecked. To others, they were martyrs, women who dared to seize power in a world that sought to silence them. Their story blurred the line between evil and empowerment, reminding all that shadows are not simply absence but forces with will of their own. Explanation of themes. The tale of Coven of Shadows. Rise of the Dark Sisters is rich in allegory and symbolism. Power and corruption, the Dark Sisters embody the dangers of unchecked ambition. Their pursuit of shadow magic gave them dominion, but at the cost of humanity and unity. Outcasts and empowerment, their rise begins from oppression. Cast out by society, they forged strength through forbidden paths. Their story reflects how marginalized groups might reclaim power, but it also warns of vengeance consuming purpose. Duality of light and shadow, the Order of Dawnfire versus the Dark Sisters reflects the eternal balance. Neither light nor shadow exists without the other, echoing philosophical and spiritual truths. Sisterhood and betrayal, their bond was their strength, yet also their downfall. The story underscores how unity can overcome all opposition, but division can unravel even the strongest ties. Prophecy and fate, the prophecy adds inevitability, suggesting that no power is eternal. It reflects the cyclical nature of history, rise, fall, and rebirth. Coven of Shadows. Rise of the Dark Sisters is not merely a tale of witches. It is a saga of power, rebellion, and the perilous dance between ambition and destruction. The Dark Sisters rose from pain and exile, wielding shadows to carve an empire of fear. Yet their downfall was born from within, proving that the greatest enemy often lies in one's own reflection. Even in defeat, their legacy endured. Every whisper of shadow, every fear of the unseen, carries a fragment of their story. They remind us that power, whether wielded in light or shadow, always demands a price. And perhaps, somewhere in the folds of the world, the Dark Sisters wait, watching, whispering, preparing once more to rise. As the veil of night closes, the tale of Coven of Shadows. Rise of the Dark Sisters reminds us that power often dwells in places the world seeks to silence. Their rise is not just a story of witchcraft, but of defiance, unity, and the unyielding pull of darkness. If you were drawn into their haunting legacy, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. Until next time, keep your candles lit, your ward strong, and remember, where shadows gather, the Dark Sisters may rise again. Darkness, after all, is never truly gone.